Hare Krishna. So, yesterday we discussed the second section of chapter 1, the signs of victory of the Pandavas. This is from verse number 14 to 20. So, here the last verse of this section we saw signs of victory, the verse number 20. So, here we see that Lord Ram, goddess of fortune Sita, and Hanumanji, all these three were present. And the significance of presence of Hanumanji is the blessings of the previous acharyas. So it is very significant for us. So I just also wanted to tell a background story regarding the presence of Hanumanji on this flag of Arjun. So once what had happened, when the Pandavas, they were there for 14 years of exile, for 14 years in the forests. So one time Arjuna had gone to the heavenly planets to seek some celestial weapons. So that time the other Pandavas, they wandered to the Badrikashram, and there just one river known as Alaknanda, it was flowing. So while Draupadi was there near the river Alaknanda, in that river one lotus, very beautiful lotus flower, it was 1,000 petals and very fragrant lotus flower, it came floating to Draupadi when she was there near that river Alaknanda, and Draupadi was very captivated by that lotus flower. So she said to Bhima that, Bhima, just look how beautiful is this flower. It has thousands of petals, and it has such a beautiful scent. So she requested that, can you get some more such lotus flowers? Because I want to take these flowers back to our hermitage at Kamakhya and offer some of these lotus flowers to Yudhishthir Maharaj. So Bhima, he immediately took his club and started climbing up the mountain. And because he was a heavy bodied person and performer of Herculean deeds, as we saw in the previous verse. So while he was going up, so all the wild animals, elephants and tigers also, they were also becoming very fearful, and they were running here and there because Bhima was like really a giant, and he was uprooting trees and casting them aside, and he was just running up that mountain. So while he was running up, he just came across a very huge monkey, and monkey was blocking his way with his tail. So that monkey looked at Bhima and he said that, why are you making so much noise and so much disturbance, and you are making the animals so much fearful? Just come here, sit down and eat some fruit. So Bhima, he ordered, move your tail aside, because as an etiquette one should not cross over anyone. We should not jump over anyone. So Bhima wanted to follow this etiquette of not jumping over this monkey because his tail was blocking the way. So he ordered the monkey, move your tail aside. So the monkey replied that, I am too old, I cannot move my tail aside, you please do it yourself. So then Bhima, he just went and tried to move that tail of that monkey, but he could not move even the tail of the monkey. So then Bhima understood that this monkey must be some divine person. So then this monkey revealed his identity, that he was Hanuman, and he is the brother of Bhima, because both are the children of the wind god. So Pavan Putra Hanuman and Pavan Putra Bhima, both. So they are like brothers. So Bhima was very happy to meet his brother Hanumanji there. So Hanumanji then gave this benediction to Bhima that very soon when the battle will happen with your enemies, that time I will be present on the chariot of Arjun on the flag, and when you roar, then I will also roar at the same time. So increasing the volume of your roar, and the roar will be so, it will be so loud, and it will sound so dangerous that just your roaring combined with my roaring will break the hearts of the enemies. So that was the service of Hanumanji. on the flag of Arjun. That Bhima, when he used to roar in anger, that time Hanumanji also used to roar. And the combined sound of Bhima's roaring and Hanumanji's roaring was so upheavious that it just made the enemies like so much fearful. So can you see here the service which was given to Hanumanji was this, that you just roar here. He is the hero of Ramayana. So there he was the person who did so much service, and he was like the main hero who built the bridge, who found Sita Devi and killed so many demons. So in that battle, but in this battle, the service which was given to Hanumanji is just of roaring, that you just shout. You do not take any weapons, you just shout. But he was satisfied to do this service also, and he was satisfied to do that service also. So a devotee does not care whether he becomes a hero or whether he is given just a small service of shouting. So Hanumanji did not protest that I am such a big hero. I fought the whole battle in Ramayana. So here, why am I not being given the service to fight? He just accepted this service and he just roared. And when Bhima was killing, he was roaring all the time. So that was the service of Hanumanji there. So this is the background story of Hanumanji, how he came on the flag of Arjun. So this was the last verse of this section, second section, Signs of Victory. So now the opening arrows of the long awaited battle are now to be released. And then Arjun, he is just on the brink of the battle, and then he is speaking the next verses. So we are now starting the third section, Krishna as Bhakt Vatsal, and this is from 21 to 27. So this is the section summary of the verses 21 to 27. So here we see that Krishna appears as the chariot driver of Arjun, revealing his quality as Bhakt Vatsal. Arjun orders Krishna to place his chariot between the two armies because he wants to see who is present. Seeing those assembled for battle, Arjun becomes hesitant to fight. So we will starting verse by verse. So first taking verse 1.21 to 22. So the translation of the verse is like this. These were the words which Arjuna spoke after he prepared to shoot his first arrows. So Arjun said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those who are present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. So here in this verse we see Krishna is being called Achyuta, and this is very significant why he is being called Achyuta. So the dictionary meaning in Sanskrit of this word Achyuta is infallible. Krishna is infallible. That means he never falls down. So why it is mentioned Achyuta here? Because here Krishna's quality of never falling down, but in what aspect never falling down? In showing affection towards his devotee. That is signified here. Because the topic of this section is only, as you can see, Krishna as Bhakt Vatsal. And this is the starting verse of this section. So here only it is being made sure that we understand that Krishna is Achyuta. That means he never fails in showing affection towards his devotee. He is infallible. The celebrities of this world, many times they may fail miserably in showing affection towards their fans. But Krishna is such a Lord that he will never fail in showing affection towards his devotees. And therefore, he is being called Achyuta. And you see, this is the first appearance of Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Till now in whole Bhagavad Gita, Krishna was nowhere mentioned. Now this is the first appearance of Krishna. And what is he doing? He is driving the chariot of Arjun. So he is ready to take such a menial position. So therefore the sweet relationship between Lord and his devotee is like this, that the Lord derives more pleasure when his devotee takes a superior position and orders him to do something. And that is what we can see. The first appearance of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, and this is what he is doing. He is driving the chariot of his devotee, and his devotee is ordering him that take my chariot there. And Lord is very happy to do such a service. So therefore he is called here Achyuta, one who never fails to show his affection towards devotees. And here Arjun is also using Achyut, this word, in the feeling that, O Lord, "Oh Krishna, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but still, because you wanted to become my chariot driver, you have accepted this position of my chariot driver, and as a chariot driver, I am supposed to give you orders where to go and where to not go. So, although I am not supposed to be giving you orders, I am supposed to be serving you. But because right now you have accepted this position of my chariot driver, I am supposed to give you order, and therefore I am telling you that please go." So he's just kind of trying to make up for the situation by calling him Achyuta, that you are infallible one. So now also please do not fail. Now also, just what my request is to take the chariot there, please do it. So in that is the feeling of Arjun when he is speaking this word Achyuta. But our acharyas tell that the main reason why here Achyuta is written, because Krishna never fails in showing affection towards his devotees. So of all the qualities of Krishna, his quality of being Bhakta Vatsal is most endearing. So we know this Brahmana in Srirangam whom Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there in Srirangam, in the temple of Ranganath, he saw that many Brahmanas were reading Bhagavad Gita. And among those Brahmanas, there was one Brahmana who was also reading Bhagavad Gita, but other Brahmanas were laughing on this Brahmana. So why? Because this Brahmana was illiterate. He did not know how to read, but still he was reading Bhagavad Gita, and therefore other Brahmanas who were big scholars, they were laughing on this Brahmana. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went to this Brahmana and he asked that if you don't understand how to read, if you don't understand this text, then why you are reading this Bhagavad Gita? So this Brahmana replied that I am illiterate, but my Gurudev, my spiritual master, he ordered me that I should read Bhagavad Gita every day. And I am doing it just to follow his instructions, just for his pleasure, because my Guru ordered that I should read Bhagavad Gita every day. Therefore, I am reading it every day. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased that so much Guru Nishtha, although he does not know how to read, only because it is his Guru's order, he is reading it. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, okay, that's fine, but you tell me, what is making you cry so much? Because you are not understanding the text, but still I see that you are crying. So why you are crying then? Then this Brahmana said that when I open the first page of Bhagavad Gita, I see this cover image of Krishna driving the chariot of Arjun. He is taking a menial position of being a Sarthi of Arjun. So this makes me cry that my Lord is so merciful that he is ready to become a servant of his own devotee. So actually we can understand, see, becoming a Sarthi is really taking a menial position, because we are not in that scenario. So we may not be able to relate with it so much, but actually it's a very, very menial service to become a Sarthi. Like we know Karna, why he was insulted throughout his whole life? Because he was a Sudputra. He was the son of a person who was a chariot driver. And therefore, whole life Karna was insulted that he is not a Kshatriya, he is a Sudputra. And he was always, a big story is around Karna of his being a Sudputra. And this brings the people who have affection for Karna into tears, that although he was a Kshatriya, still he was counted as Shudraputra. But still, you see here Arjun, in case of Arjun and Krishna, here Krishna himself voluntarily he is taking that position of driving the chariot. So when this Brahmana, he was telling that when I see that this much affection the Lord has for his devotees, this really moves me to tears and I cry looking at the affection, how much Lord has for his devotees. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very, very happy. He said that others have not understood Bhagavad Gita. You have understood the real essence of Bhagavad Gita. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced that Brahmana and he gave him Krishna Prem, love of God. So just see, we are also reading this verse today. So this Brahmana, he was crying just seeing this image. So we have also seen this image so many times, and we are reading this verse also today, and we are also seeing how Krishna is uh, driving the chariot of Arjun. So I don't know how many of you are crying right now. I cannot see your faces, but when we start crying, reading this verse, that Krishna is really, he is taking such a menial position, in regard to his devotee. That means we can understand that we have developed some little particle of the qualities of which this Brahmana was exhibiting. And when we actually understand this verse, when we actually cry reading this verse, then we can understand that we are developing the love of God. So we hope and pray that all of us reach this level of devotion very soon. So, anyways, moving ahead. So, as a pure devotee, Arjun had no desire to fight with his brothers. So, although there was no question of peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, but still he wanted to see how much his enemies are bent upon demanding an unwanted war. Because Arjuna was in doubt how much they are wanting this war, useless war. So he never wanted a war. He was like kind of obviously a devotee has this quality that he is compassionate, he is peace loving. So Krishna here, Arjuna, he never wanted a war. So although he's there in the battlefield and he's fully prepared to fight, but still one more time he wanted to see, okay, are they really wanting this war? All they really they are in this favor of having so much bloodshed. So he wanted to see it one more time to be sure that yes, really they are bent upon this war. So you see, previously Arjuna had taken this vow to kill anyone who even suggested that he put down his bow. But in this verse hints that he is already indecisive about taking part in the battle. So why he wants to see? So next verse we will see that Krishna is jokingly telling also that, oh, why you want to see? Do you want to make peace with them, or you want to surrender with them? Surrender to them? Why you want to see them? So Krishna, like in a friendly and joking way, he is asking also. So, but from this verse we can already, the indecision in the mind of Krishna, this mind of Arjun has already started. Now still thinking whether should I continue or whether I should not continue, whether should I fight or not fight. So moving ahead to the next verse. So here now Arjun is telling, let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. So here Duryodhan's plan of cheating the Pandavas out of their kingdom was an open secret. Everybody knew that who is on the virtuous side and who is on the evil side. So Arjun wanted to see that who all have joined Duryodhana's side, knowing fully well that he is on the evil side. Because the birds of the same feather flock together. Those who were the virtuous kings, they joined the side of the Pandavas. And those who were evil-minded kings, they all joined the side of Duryodhan. So Arjun wanted to see that, let me see who all have joined his side, knowing very well that he is on the wrong side. So this was the curiosity which was there in the mind of Arjun. Now Arjun also wanted to make an estimate of the strength which he had to face. Although he was fully confident of victory because Krishna was present, but still it is intelligence to make an estimate of the strength which one has to counter. So here you see Durbuddhi, this word is used for Duryodhana, the evil-minded. So Srila Prabhupada is translating this word as evil-minded, Durbuddhi. So why this word Durbuddhi is used? Because you see this is given in Shri Ishopanishad also. Ki tena tyaktena bhunjita ma gridha kasya svidhanam. So this verse comes towards the beginning of Shri Ishopanishad. This is also a part of the Bhakti Shastri training. So Shri Ishopanishad is also taught during the Bhakti Shastri, if you will do some time in future. So this words comes, Tena tyaktena bhunjita mahagridha kasasvedhanam. So there it is very clearly said that everyone has the right to enjoy their father's property because they have inherited the property from their father. But nobody has the right to encroach on others' property. This verse of Shri Ishopanishad very clearly tells that one should accept only that much which is set aside as his own quota and should not encroach on the property of other. If someone encroaches on the property of others, then he is called a Durbuddhi. So here Dhritarashtra's son Duryodhan, his clearly a Durbuddhi, because he is encroaching on the property which righteously belongs to the Pandavas. So moving on to the next verse 1.24. So translation goes like this, that Sanjay said, O descendant of Bharat, having thus been addressed by Arjun, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. So here Arjuna is being addressed as Gudakesh. So Gudakesh means one who has conquered sleep. And what is the meaning of one who has conquered sleep? It means one who has conquered ignorance. So although here Arjun is going to show ignorance, he will become bewildered, but still here the word Gudakesh is used, because although Arjun is playing a part of a conditioned soul in order to teach us what to do, what not to do, and in order to create an opportunity for Krishna to speak Bhagavad Gita, but actually he is a pure devotee. He has already overcome all kinds of ignorance because of his association with Krishna, because of his being a pure devotee. So therefore this word Gudakesh is very significant. Gudakesh means one who has conquered sleep or ignorance. So Krishna conquered both the things, sleep also and ignorance also, because of his association with Krishna. And another reason why this word Gudakesh is used for Krishna in this verse, because previously when Arjun was there in the Gurukul of Dronacharya, so Dronacharya had given instructions that Arjun should not be allowed to eat in darkness. But one time what happened, when Arjun was eating, all of a sudden wind blew off the lamp and Arjun was there in darkness and he continued to eat in darkness only. So while doing so, he found out that even in darkness I am able to eat, because it has become a habit that I am taking food and it is going directly to my mouth. Every day I do it, so it has become a habit. So then he thought, if this can become a habit, then obviously I can practice archery also in darkness, and this can also become a habit. So then he started practicing archery, Dhanurvidya, even at the night. So therefore he became expert in this science, that even without looking one can shoot arrows even in the darkness. So therefore Gudakesh is used in reference to this also. And here Rishikesh. Rishikesh means one who is the master of the senses or the director of mind and senses. So Rishikesh, Krishna could understand the purpose of Arjun. Why he is asking? Because his Rishikesh is the director of the mind. So what is going on in the mind of Arjun, Krishna very clearly understood, and thus he is speaking the next verse in a joking way. So this is the next verse. Now now Krishna is speaking this verse. He is taking the chariot where in the middle of the two armies, and after that Krishna he is speaking this verse. So he is telling, in the presence of Bhishma, Drona and all the other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, just behold Parth, all the Kurus assembled here. So here another significance of the word Partha is mentioned here, that here Krishna is reminding that Arjun, you are the son of Pritha. Pritha means Kunti Maharani. So here Krishna is reminding that my father is Vasudev and Vasudev's sister is Pritha, and you are the son of Pritha. That means you have a great lineage, and because I am your cousin brother, I am connected to you by family relationship. Therefore on your request I have become your chariot driver. But now when I have come as your chariot driver on this battlefield, so now what are you going to do? Now are you going to make peace with your enemies and you are not going to perform your duty of fighting? So it's reminding that you have a great lineage. You are no ordinary person. You are the son of Kunti Devi. You are the son of Pritha. And you have connection with me because my father is the brother of your mother. So that here Krishna is reminding indirectly to Arjun. And here the word Pashyaitan is also very significant, because Krishna is speaking as I told you, in a friendly joke, because Krishna and Arjun, they were friends, so he is speaking in a friendly manner, in a joking manner, because Krishna already understood what is going to happen. So he is just in a jokingly manner कि देखो देखो क्या है, देख लो जो तुम्हें देखना है. So jokingly he is telling this. So then Sanjay describes this scene and then moves on to name the other members of the family which Arjun is going to see. So here Krishna's expertise is that he took Arjun directly in front of Dronacharya and Bhishma Dev. He could have taken in front of other Kauravas also, which would have incited the anger of Arjun, that these are the people who did wrong to us, now I will take revenge. But Krishna, he wanted an opportunity to speak Bhagavad Gita, and for that Arjuna needs to get bewildered. So he is taking him directly in front of Bhishma Pitama and Dronacharya. Then Arjun could see the Sanjay here. This verse Sanjay is telling. So Sanjay is describing whom all Arjun is seeing. So he is seeing in the middle of both the parties his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandfathers, friends, and also his father-in-law and well-wishers. So here the complete list is given. Who were the fathers? Fathers contemporaries are also like fathers. Like fathers contemporaries are Bhurishava. Grandfather are like Bhishma and Somadatta. Teachers are like Dronacharya and Kripacharya. Maternal uncles like Salya and Sakuni. Like we know that Salya joined because of defection, the trick of Duryodhan. Salya was supposed, now he joined the side of the Kauravas. And Shakuni. Then brothers like Duryodhan, sons like Lakshmana, friends like Ashwathama, and well-wishers like Kritavarma. So when the son of Kunti, Arjun, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and thus spoke. So here we can see that Krishna very purposefully placed Arjuna's chariot in front of Bhishma and Drona, because he really wanted Arjun to become bewildered so that he can speak the Bhagavad Gita properly. So beginning with next verse, the verse number 28, Arjun will describe his reasons for not fighting. And Krishna, we will see in the next chapter, one by one, Krishna will reject all his reasons. So Arjun will give many reasons and Krishna will reject those reasons. So this is the link to the next section. Arjuna's doubt, verses number 28 to 46. So what we will do, we will just see the list and then we will finish off for today and we will continue describing them in the next session. So these are the reasons which are given by Arjun to not fight. Now Arjun will start giving the different reasons why he should not fight. So first reason is compassion, second reason is enjoyment, third reason is destruction of family, fourth reason is fear of sinful reactions, fifth reason is saintliness, and sixth reason is indecision. So these are the 6 reasons that Arjuna is giving, and we will see that how Krishna, he one by one, he will defeat all these 6 reasons. And these six reasons display the quality of Arjuna as a Vaishnava, that he is really concerned not just with his false ego, but he is concerned about what will do good to everyone. So next session, we will see about all these 6 reasons, what Arjun is arguing on the basis of these 6 things, because Arjun was not an ignorant person. He knew Shastras and he was intelligent person. But even after being such an intelligent person and knowing so much Shastra, still he was unable to come to a proper decision. And ultimately he had to surrender to Krishna. And then Krishna defeats all the 6 arguments of Arjun why he should not fight, and then tells his own reason why you should fight, which is the whole of Bhagavad Gita. And then Arjun starts fighting. So this is what we will continue in our next session. So anyways, so anybody wants to ask any question or any doubts? Okay, so we will finish now. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.